How's it going, everyone? And this is Daniel, and in this video we're going to be talking about Tesla stock. We also going to go over Elon Musk acquiring Twitter. We're going to go over exactly what this basically means and what to expect for Tesla and Twitter. Also, we're also going to be talking about the overall stock market and what are some massive earnings we need to be watching out for this week. So make sure you stay tuned. I'm going to cover all this important information in this video coming up. As you can see over here, we have a Tesla stock today that closed down only 0.7%. As you can see, after hours, it's climbing up a little bit. Today, we gapped down. The overall stock market gapped down. Tesla opened at around $980 and we recovered pretty good. And we had the news that Elon Musk was getting closer to finalizing the deal to acquire Twitter. And we talked about it on the previous video. But as you can see over here, when the news came out that the deal was finalized and Elon Musk was going to be acquiring Twitter for more than $40 billion, as you can see, Tesla sold off a little bit, but it recovered and bounced back quickly. So this kind of shows that there are some Tesla investors that are a little bit worried about him acquiring Twitter. So it's a mixed bag when it comes to people that are excited about Elon Musk acquiring Twitter, and there are other people that are not really happy about him acquiring Twitter. So when you go over and look at exactly what he had to say after acquiring Twitter, he tweeted yes, and he basically posted this picture. So in this text, he mentioned that free speech is the bedrock of a functioning democracy, and Twitter is the digital town square where matters vital to the future of humanity are debated. And he also mentions, I also want to make Twitter better than ever by enhancing the product with new features, making the algorithm open source to increase trust, defeating the spam bots, and authenticating all humans. And Twitter has a tremendous potential. I look forward to working with the company and the community of users to unlock it. So that is what he basically had to say. As you can see, a lot of people are excited. We got 1.4 million people liking this tweet, but as I mentioned, it's mixed bag. There are some people that are not excited about Elon Musk acquiring Twitter, and also the big question is Donald Trump going to be allowed back to Twitter? So that was one of the big talking topics if you go on Twitter. What do you think about Elon Musk acquiring Twitter? So there are some concerns, as I said, even with the price, it dropped when the news broke out. So there are investors that are a little bit shaky about it. We talked about on my previous video how Elon Musk is going to be financing. He's definitely going to be using Tesla shares as collateral for this deal. We know the majority of Elon Musk's wealth is tied up into Tesla shares. So that is why investors are a little bit concerned. And also another thing that they're concerned about is, okay, since he is managing another company, especially a social media company, his attention might be, distracted and maybe focused on the other company. But we talked about on a few months ago that even if we have a new Tesla CEO, the company has a very great foundation to basically build up on what they already have. So Tesla's already have a fantastic, phenomenal foundation. They can definitely build up and continue to grow even if Elon Musk is not there. So that's not something that I'm concerned about, but let me know what you think in the comment section below. So now let's talk about exactly what happened to the stock market today. The stock market actually gapped down today, but had a reversal exactly that we were expecting. As you can see right here, we have Microsoft, Google, Apple, Amazon, all of them announcing their earnings this week. They are up ahead of their earnings announcement. We have the energy sector that was relatively down today. But let's go over and look at exactly what are the massive earnings coming up. So we talked about Microsoft, Google announcing earnings, but now Twitter, which is going to be announcing before the market open on Thursday, that is going to be very, very interesting because now they have a new owner. Let's go over and hear what analysts are expecting for Twitter earnings that's going to be announced on Thursday before the market open.
As well, I wanted your opinion too. If you're a shareholder today, are you happy with this price? Are you surprised that the first offer was in fact the best and final?
Oh, I think you're popping the champagne if you're a Twitter shareholder, because without Musk, you're looking at a low $30 stock, and it just shows, as you talked about, they were looking for white knights. The poison pill gave them time. No PEs looked at this, and that's why ultimately at the altar, they had to come and walk it down with Musk. And I think for shareholders, I'll call it a Cinderella ending. to what could have been some dark days, especially if this happened on Thursday night.
Why no white knight, though? As I asked the two gentlemen who were with me prior, why do all these other parties look at this and say, no, thank you, give them the Heisman and walk away?
It's a disaster private equity candidate because of the cash flow, because of the lack of a subscription model. The challenges are there. And as Josh said, I mean, that's why Musk knew in this game of high stakes poker, he was really the only one that could get this done. They obviously went out and tried to get that white knight. But once he detailed the financing late last week, that's where, in my opinion, the clock struck 12 for the board. They need to come ultimately to a deal with Musk. And obviously that's what we saw today.
Does the timing of this today, the price that they agreed to, as I said, the first, best, and final, does it insinuate to you that earnings that are coming this week are going to be ugly?
Oh, I think that could be a Friday the 13th. Pick your horror movie in terms of later this week. And I think that's why the timing, board knew they needed to get this done quick. Another white knight was not coming. And ultimately, look, if they decide not to, then the hostile tender offer would have started. Earnings come out Thursday, lackluster, not smiles and roses. And then you could have had a hostile tender offer. And arguably then, instead of 54, you could be looking at 48, 49. So I think that's why right now this is ultimately Game of Thrones, and Musk ends up with Twitter. But I think the board obviously made a smart decision in terms of sitting down with him and negotiating.
Let's just speculate because it's fun to do so. Twitter's obviously going to become a privately held company. If it was going to stay public and Musk was going to be the CEO, what would your rating and target be on it, for argument's sake?
I think you'd be negative on it right off the bat. I mean, look, it comes down to, Scott, like this is when you look at Twitter, and it's well documented, I mean, it's a head scratcher just wanting to own Twitter. That's why no one else that looked at it, they wanted to buy it. It's going to be Herculean-like challenges ahead. And, look, if you look at Musk's successes, it's been PayPal, it's been Tesla, it's been SpaceX. But no doubt, this is really one that, as we've talked about, I think from an investor perspective, trading in your Tesla for Twitter shares is, we'll call it caviar for, $1 or $2 slice of pizza.
And the most important earnings, of course, for tomorrow is Microsoft and Google. Depending upon how the earnings are going to be like, if they have a phenomenal earnings, if the stocks react positively, it can carry the stock market up. And if they decide to sell off also, that can have some form of an impact with the overall stock market too. So the earnings are in after hours, so we might see the impact on Wednesday morning. So let's go over and look at exactly the stocks, how Tesla can behave. When you look at Tesla stock, it is doing relatively pretty good. It's holding strong. We're sitting at close to $1,000. We talked about yesterday's video. The lowest that we can see Tesla stock go this week is around $950. So we're definitely holding strong right now. Of course, as I mentioned, these massive tech company earnings can have an impact on it. And we also have jobless claims numbers coming out on Thursday that can have an impact on the overall stock market too. But Tesla is doing relatively pretty strong, holding up this specific level of support of around $1,000. When you look at Twitter, also Twitter has performed very, very well. Of course, with this massive announcement, it's going to be doing pretty well. As you can see over here, the last 3 days has been relatively pretty good, and today has a relatively big volume day. There's been a lot of buying in Twitter shares. It had a gap up with that massive news. More than 175 million shares been traded, so that was pretty big day, and it's up 5.66%. So let me know, what do you think is going to be happening on their earnings call, which is coming up on Thursday. It's going to be quite interesting because everything is fresh, everything is brand new. The employees, all the people that work over there are just quite surprised. They don't know what's going to happen. So let me know if you also work on Twitter, what are you excited about, like the new owner? Let me know in the comment section below. Of course, if you're new to the channel too, make sure you subscribe, turn on notification bell. And if you want free stocks too, check out the links in the description box below. But I catch you guys on another video. Have a wonderful day.